So one of our stalwart soldiers who's been here making good noise, ladies and gentlemen, would you please make a warm welcome for Spencer Herbert. And
thank you. Well, it touches my soul to see so many of you out here today, because I've got to tell you, it's been a bit of a lonely fight. And so thank you for being here to help give me and to help give the opposition strength in the legislature to push back against these regressive and devastating attacks. It's so nice to see so many faces that I've known and that I've worked with. Many of you don't know, but I used to work in the arts as an artist and as an arts administrator last October, before I got into this crazy game called politics. And I miss it, but I also don't, because I'm still doing the work I love, which is fighting for arts and culture for our community. So, in whatever way we can do it. So I just wanted to, still not figuring out how to use microphones. All right. Back here, okay. Anyways, I just wanted to first bring greetings from the official opposition, from Carol James and the official opposition, who told me in caucus meeting last week, they said, keep up the fight. It's working. We're depending on you, but we're doing it in our own communities as well. Our communities across the province are hearing about this struggle, which is coming in Victoria, coming in Vancouver, coming in Comox, coming in Kamloops, Prince George, Cranbrook. The letters are pouring into my office, pouring into the offices of the government to say that these cuts are wrong. They'll hurt us economically, socially, culturally. You know, we're the only province in Canada, the only government in Canada which is slashing and burning arts and culture. Everybody else is either staying the same or increasing their support for arts and culture because they know it's the right thing to do. They know it increases jobs, they know it increases health, increases community well-being, and builds that kind of cohesive community we need in these troubled economic times. It just makes sense. So you've heard the dollar invested in the arts creates $1.38 in taxes. You've heard the job figures. You've heard the social well-being figures. What I'd like to tell you is how this began. It started in February. The government brought down a budget in February which said next year they planned on cutting arts and culture by about 50%, just in the BC Arts Council area. I raised the alarm. We had community meetings throughout the province. I toured the province. People didn't quite believe it. They weren't quite sure, is this Spencer Herbert just talking out of his ass, or is this reality? People weren't quite sure what to believe because it just seemed so unbelievable. When I brought it to the House, I spoke to the minister, I spoke to the government. They said, oh, no, this is a member fear-mongering, everything's fine, the funding is assured, you can plan your seasons ahead. They sent out letters, they had phone calls. They tried to corral the community into believing everything was fine. Through the election, it mostly worked. It mostly worked. After the election, we get hit with 50% cuts this year and 90% cuts next year. They lied. They lied to our community. And their lies are devastating our communities all across this province. And here in Vancouver, many of our organizations have a bit of ability to work together to try and mitigate some of the challenges. But some of the communities I go out to, the funding they get from gaming is the only funding they get to do their art practices. Some of the funding they get from the BC Arts Council is the only funding they get to do their art practices. Without that money, there will not be organized art practices as many communities across BC. This is museums, this is small arts councils, dance, theater, music, art, visual arts, on and on it goes. You know the effects personally. You know them emotionally. We need to take this to the next level. Having this amount of people out here today is a good first step. We got them to back down after 2 days in the House, hammering them over their tearing up of commitments to 3-year, multi-year grant clients under gaming. They restored that funding. That's $20 million after 2 days in the House, and you're outraged. We can do it again. Are you going to stand up against these cuts? Are you going to force them to back down? Are we going to stay united as a community to defeat these regressive cuts? Thank you. I need you to stay in touch with me, stay in touch with your MLAs, stay in touch with the Alliance for Arts and Culture, the nonprofits throughout the province. Reach out to your contacts in business, to your contacts in labor, your contacts in city halls and councils across the province. Reach out across the country. I'm starting to get letters now from Ontario saying, you know, our government did this to us in the 90s. We're only rebuilding now. And this is, 10 years later. And we saw the devastation it did there. We can put a stop to this. We've got a budget coming up this next spring. We've got the time to push these changes back. We've got the time to do it this year, hopefully, if you speak out loudly to your papers, to your media, and if you speak out forcefully, with the facts, with consistency. I look forward to standing with you. The official opposition looks forward to continuing to stand with you, putting it to Premier Campbell, putting it to Minister Coleman and Minister Kruger, who said, oh, they're not lighting their hairs on fire over this cuts, but they are. We are lighting our hair on fire. We're here in grey, on a grey, brutal day for arts and culture in BC, but we're standing up together because we know it's not about child poverty versus the arts, as they tried to pit it this last week. This is coming from the government who's supported child poverty, the worst levels of child poverty in Canada for 6 years running. It's just not credible. So we can't allow ourselves to be diverted into fighting amongst each other. We will stand united together. We will stand together for arts and culture and heritage BC, and we will win. Thank you.